You're on, Lynn.
Welcome, welcome. You listen to 360 Info. I'm your host, Antonio. What you do for yourself depends on what you think of yourself. And what you think of yourself depends on what you know of yourself. And what you know of yourself depends on what you've been told of yourself. Yes, yes, y'all. We got a great show for you today. Some good conversations. I didn't really even look outside this morning. They say it was a little slick outside last night or whatever. But again, we handling it and we up in Cleveland and it's wintertime. Just want to let you guys know we got Black History Month coming up. I believe the flag raising at City Hall is going on. That's the 1st of February. I think it's from 11 to 2 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, at City Hall. So they're gonna have a function down there at the Rotunda. So if you want to be a part of that, and then if you want to mosey on over to Wings Academy, at 3 the doors is going to open up for the Truth Series. Carter G. Wilson, along with Asala, we're doing a African history program. You want to be there, especially in light of what's going on in this country. We need to absorb as much information about our history and the truth as well. That's why we call it the Truth Series. So we're going to have our good brother Wayne Chandler doing a lecture on the topic of African presence in early India and China. You don't want to miss that. It's going to blow your mind. And then I'm gonna open up before him with a little presentation on who we are and what we have become as Black people. We're gonna have a little African drum in there, a little food there, some vendors gonna be there. So it's gonna be a great time to open up Black History Month with the first day of Black History Month. That's a Saturday. The tickets are $20, 25 at the door. You can give me a call, 216-323-6155, if you want to participate and be a part of this particular program. In the remote studio, we got our good brother, Vince Robinson. Vince, what's going on? What's going on, my good brother Vince?
Well, we start off the show sometimes by talking about the weather. And what I will say is winter.
You got something going on over there?
Winter is wintering. Okay. I'm having a few technical difficulties. I'm having feedback issues. So hopefully you can hear me. I'm speaking over myself right now. So I'm going to do my best to push through this and get quickly to the introduction. Our guest today is Pam Corbin. Corbin. She's not Pam Corbin. Pam Corbin is one of my classmates from Kent State University. Pam Hubbard is the executive director of Golden Ciphers. It's a youth development and cultural arts center. It's in Cleveland, and they're doing great things here in Cleveland with respect to young folks. So we're going to get right to it. Pam, talk to us about Golden Ciphers, how long you've been in existence, and what you're doing here in Cleveland.
First of all, blessed risings, everybody, and I'm grateful for being here. Thank you for inviting me. And just to add on, we don't only serve youth, we serve adults. We've been having family night for years, the last Wednesday of every month. So we're going to amp that up this year in light of everything that's going in hopes to enhance community support and community just vibing together and working together. But Golden Ciphers is an African-American grassroots organization designed to assist in reconnecting our family structures and rebuilding our communities. We've been doing that for 24 years. It started right here in my living room 24 years ago. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's our mission statement, and that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So talk about specifically what you do, because I'm sure that you have different programs that you are implementing. And as you said, it's not just about children's, it's about adults too. And what I wrote in the description for this video is the fact that you do what you do, but you're filling in some of the gaps that have been left by our education system, by our social services network, and so forth and so on, because those entities are not African-centered entities. But I think at the heart of what you do is this whole idea of culture. You have been very involved in Kwanzaa celebrations over the years. And I want to take this opportunity also just to mention and give respect to our dear sister Doris, who was very involved, and as a matter of fact, she was actually one of the founders who initiated the whole idea of Kwanzaa in Cleveland. So, Doris Willis, we want to give her flowers right now and just acknowledge the great value that she brought to our community and being involved in Kwanzaa and just being connected to a group like Golden Ciphers. Anything you want to say about Doris as we move forward?
I do. That's one of my sisters. And part of what I do, I do what I do. Golden Ciphers exists because of people like Doris Willis, because of people like Paul, because of people. Doris had an organization called Candace Institute for Women. And she started it, and it was women. We came together. We did retreats with teenagers. We did things together, but that was her joint. And she did so many things in the community. And the women and men that I've been able to meet and be a part of in my life encourage Golden Ciphers. The Norma Freemans, the Don and Norma Freeman, actually, from League Park Center, Khalid Samad, people who were doing things way before Golden Ciphers even existed that had an influence and that were always about the culture. There's so many of them, but those are just a few that inspired me to start Golden Ciphers, to add more culture to youth and to families, because there's so many people that don't know. We don't know about our culture. For an example, libation. So as you called out Mama Doris's name, I did libation for her yesterday, and a lot of people don't know libation is pouring out water or liquor for someone who's made their transition. And we don't understand a lot of times why the youth have been doing that on the streets, and because we're not teaching our culture. And instinctively, they know it's something else that's supposed to be done. And so some years ago, they started putting teddy bears on the post and candles and liquor bottles, and I hear people saying, why are they doing that? And they're messing up, but we're not teaching that's what you're supposed to do. So there's so many things I love about learning and teaching our culture so that we can reestablish ourselves the way we're supposed to be and govern ourselves regardless to whatever is going on in the
United States,
in the political, in the landscapes. We have too many elders, too many books, too much information to teach us how to regroup and get ourselves together and still survive regardless to what the situation is.
Well, it's interesting, Pam, when you talk about us doing things that are kind of connected to our culture, but we don't necessarily have a consciousness about. I was watching a video the other day, and it was this, I guess, choir director, and all of the people in the choir, the children in the choir, were lined up behind him, and he couldn't see their faces, but he could hear their voice. So when they started singing, and they might sing just a couple of notes, but they would sing a couple of notes, and right away he knew what their name was, and he would say their name. And when he said their name, they would put the name up on the screen so you could see it. And it was amazing to me how many of those names sounded like they were African names, but they, they may not have been authentic African names, but they had an African sound to them. Okay. And I'm saying all that to say that we are Africans without an idea of being African, but we live it. So we do those kinds of things. But what we need really is a greater awareness of our being African, so that when we name somebody, we can name them a name that has meaning and not just a name that we made up. And so I said all that to say that rites of passage is a critical aspect of what you do. So could you talk about what rites of passage is and how it brings value to the lives of the young people that you service?
Yes. And as you spoke about names, I'd like to share with the public, for people who don't know, you can go online and look up African day names. And your day name, and that's something that's easy that people can do, because sometimes people say, well, how do you start? I don't know African names. It'll tell you the day you look up the day your child was born or you were born, and it gives you the name and it gives you the characteristics of the name. So I just wanted to say that. Rites of passage is a system that takes you from one stage of your life to another. That's simply put. And there's different types of rites of passage. Again, I like to compare things to what's happening in reality so people can get it. A gang that's a rites of passage. A gang to you can live in a community, but you cannot just join the gang. It's some steps that you have to do. It's some rituals you have to do to join the gang. Fraternities and sororities are similar to a rites of passage process. You can go to a HBCU, but you cannot just join a fraternity or sorority. There are some things that you have to do to study to show yourself approved. So rites of passage, and it can be done many ways, but the way we do it, we follow Baba Elder Brother Paul Hill from National Rites of Passage Institute. I was initiated through him, and my son was. My day name is Akua, and we've used that format and that system of rites of passage to initiate. We've initiated 77 youth and adults within our rites of passage system at Golden Ciphers. So it's going from youth to adult, and even in adulthood, it's different stages of life that we're supposed to go to, and the systems that we can follow. And it's for an example, for Kwanzaa, we have the 7 principles of Nguzo Saba, for an example. Well, 7 days in a week. That's something that anybody can use every single day. Are you operating out of those principles? To take it further, is 42 virtues of Ma'at. These are things that people can just look up. And so this year, what we are really doing, we're doing more community work at Golden Ciphers. As I stated before, we have family nights the last Wednesday of every month from 6 to 8. Anyone could come. But we are leveling up our conversations, having speakers. To Brother Hamptonia's point, is some things that we need to do differently. And we need to learn from each other, learn from people who know what we do not know, and not act like we know everything and continue doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. And I'm excited about going to Wings Academy. I'm glad I didn't know about that. I knew about the flag raising, but to be able to share this type of information so everyday people can just go and learn and grow, and we could collect together. So anybody who wants, and I know this is not at the end of the show yet, but I just want to say, anybody who is interested in speaking, presenting at any of our family nights, or want to volunteer with Golden Ciphers in any type of way, please do not hesitate to call me or contact me. You could email, you could go on our website, we're on social media, and we're always recruiting, but we're looking for other people. There's so many people that have gifts that they want to share, but they don't know where to share, or they don't know how to. I talked with someone from another organization, a Black organization, last week, and she had some gifts that she wanted to do, but she didn't know how to start a nonprofit. So I was able to send her the information, and she called me and asked me a couple of questions. So now she has her application in to start. So, so many other ways that we could support each other in that way. And I don't know if I went around the circle answering your question, but it's time for us to reset and refocus and rebuild our communities, starting with ourselves, our homes, and in the community.
Yeah. And I also understand that you are going through a rebuilding process based on the conversation that we had last week. But I want to get back to rites of passage just to make it real for folks. And I know you don't necessarily want to reveal what those rites are or what you actually do. But could you give folks an idea? And I'll just say this. When you look at the fraternities rites, that might involve somebody with a paddle. Back in the day when I was at Kent State, I saw the Qs going what they went through, and the Kappas going through what they went through. And I know that there were things that they would do, like, for instance, they would put a banana in a toilet bowl and they would blindfold somebody, and they would have them put their hand in the toilet and grab the banana. And they might be thinking that they were grabbing some feces when it was actually a banana, but they would do those kinds of things. Again, I know you can't reveal exactly what you do, but could you give people an idea of what a rites of passage ritual or program might look like?
Okay. First, for us, you cannot just say you want to go through your Rites of Passage, or I want to be in the Rites of Passage program. We choose you. And we choose the people out of people who are connected, who are already in our programs. And so you asked earlier about that. We have Black Butterflies. That's what we started with. That's all girls 12 to 18. That's on Tuesdays from 3 to 6. On Wednesdays, we have EET. That's our co-ed program. That's EET stands for Employment and Entrepreneurial Training. So we work with Wild Youth with the summer jobs programs, but we also teach sewing, drumming, drum making, 3D printing. We're connected with Tri-C with the technology department, and they have a CAD program there that our youth can go to free of charge, and that's another excellent program. So that's what that program is. We do a lot of art in that program as well, making jewelry as well. And on Thursdays, it's Young Men Emerge. And all those are 12 to 18, and it's all young men. So that is facilitated by my son, program director, Anthony Hubbard. He started that program to mirror Black Butterflies. And then we have family night and every month. So for the Rites of Passage, for people, we teach Rites of Passage principles in everything we do. It's just not called Rites of Passage. But Rites of Passage is not, to us, it's not a program, it's a way of life. And it's how you live your life and how you learn to govern your life, to share and be a part of a community. So it's not a program, it's a process. The part that we do not share is the initiation process. So as we identify people who are in our programs, who's taking the lessons that we're teaching seriously, and they're implementing it into their lives, and they're bringing other people in, or they're sharing and they're excited about it, that's how we know they're ready to be initiated. They want this. And we've had parents and youth go through initiation together as well. 2 of my sons and 3 of my grandsons have been. One of my granddaughters and 2 of my grandsons have been initiated. And I have 14 grandchildren. Everybody doesn't want this life, and that's okay. But we still love them. So it's not for everybody. And so the initiation, it's a process. It's just learning about culture. It's about learning about who you are, the things that we do in our regular programs. And then if you're serious, then we get to go to the next level. And when we have enough for a tribe, we're on tribe 9 now. We've initiated 8 tribes so far. And that is 77 people that we've actually initiated. So we're not in a rush for that. And we're not reaching for a particular goal. It's as the ancestors and the elders would say, when it's ready. When you're ready, that's when we do it. So we don't have a tribe every year. It's when it's ready. So.
Can you talk about the impact that going through this process has? I know I've seen situations where they've perhaps changed Rites of Passage programs, and I'm reflecting on some information that I got from a colleague of mine at Kent State University. At one time, they kind of wanted to water down the Rites of Passage program to make it more inclusive, so that it just wasn't African centered. It would bring in, Native Americans, or it would bring in the Latinx community and have them participate in it. And what happened when they did that is that it lost its effectiveness, and Black young folk really didn't want to participate in it. So when they reinstituted it the way it was supposed to be done, then that's when it came back to the effectiveness that it was having on those young people that went through the process. You talked about 9 tribes that you've gone through, and I'm just wondering what you have seen in folks who have gone through that process. How did it affect them?
It affected them very positively. We are still in contact with almost all of those people. A couple of people are not with us. I have made their transition as well. Out of those 77 people, it's a pride. That's why we have, when you come to things like our Kwanzas, we have alumni, whether they've been initiated or not. And that's the other thing about Golden Ciphers. It's not, we don't have programs like once you finish these 12 weeks, you're done. You get a certificate and you go. We've always designed it to build family and build community. So when you finish, you just get to go to, when you finish your 12 weeks or whatever, because we also get referrals from probation department and from schools. We've been getting referrals from the juvenile detention center since the old detention center, and providing services on those units as well. So it's not like when you leave, when you complete something, you leave. So you grow into the organization. Some people do not want to go through their rites of passage because they've heard, just they don't know what goes on. They just know people came back and they were very, very different. And it's very, very serious. And people are not ready for that type of seriousness. It's a standard to be upheld, and people are not ready for that. But as I was saying, when you come to our different programs, you see a lot of adults. That's our alumni. We have a call, GC. If one of our parents said they were in the Marks or somewhere, they saw one of our alumni said GC, they said FL. So that stands for Golden Ciphers for Life. If you haven't been initiated, you can't even make that call. You can't say that. It's a particular hug that we do. It's a 3-type hug that we do. That, so we have our little things that we do as well. But we stick true to what we started with. African American, African centered, and we're not prejudiced, and nobody else. It's all roads are equal, but we have to stay true to who we are and what we started with.
Yes. It seems as though, and you call it youth development, and I think that's an appropriate term, but it seems to me that in addition to the youth, you're actually cultivating a village within the community, because you have like-minded people who have gone through a similar process to gain a certain level of consciousness and awareness. And I think as a result of you raising that consciousness and awareness, you enhance their ability to be effective leaders in the community.
Yes, that is true. And we have multiple, we have people youth that have, they're young adults now who started their own business, clothing lines, podcasts, doing a lot of different things. They're going on to school. They have degrees, marketing degrees. So they're doing so much, but they still give back to Golden Ciphers, and they're still part of Golden Ciphers as well. And you're right. I started it with Youth Development and Cultural Arts Center because that's how we started at the beginning. We didn't add the family nights. We've been doing family nights approximately 10 years now. So we might need to change, update our name a little bit and add community or something like that. So.
Yeah. I know Brother Antonio probably has some things he wants to bring up and also possibly some questions that he wants to ask. But before we move there, I just want to ask you, what day were you born on?
My birthday is February 15th, 1956, the day after Valentine's Day. That's why I'm so nice.
Okay. And what was the actual day? Because you said your name was Afua.
Oh, Wednesday.
You were born on a Wednesday. Okay. I was going to say.
That's what you thought. Okay.
Okay. Do you know what the trait of a Wednesday born person is, or what the traits are?
No, I cannot tell you verbatim, but I know that I am an outgoing person. I'm a community-minded person, and everything that I am is from my grandmother, plural. My mother's mom, who I never got a chance to meet, who passed while my mother was pregnant with me, from Greensboro, Alabama. And I've told this story quite a bit, but that's how I keep their memory alive. She worked with boys that nobody else wanted to work with. No degrees or anything like that. These boys were so bad, they wouldn't even let them in my grandmother's funeral. And they stood outside the whole service. And when they brought my grandmother's casket out, they made a line and they tipped their apple caps and they saluted my grandmother. That's what's in my DNA.
Yeah.
My father's mom, 10811 Massey off 105. The house is still there. She had a beauty shop. That's called back then, in the back of her house. And I watched her do press and curls and things like that. And I'm a licensed cosmetologist. I've had my license for over 30-something years. My mother was the type of person that everybody in the community called her mom. She was very nice. She was. I have a lot of her traits. Talk a lot, all of that. Very, very outgoing. And so I can't tell you the exact definition of a Wednesday child, but I could tell you exact definition of who I am and the energy and the traits of who I got to be who I am and why I do what I do. That's
Well, I'll say this, Pam. I think that you live a purpose-driven life, and whatever those attributes are to a Wednesday-born person, you're living them. You're living proof of that. So, I was born on a Thursday, and I think one of the traits of a Thursday person is that they are doers.
okay.
So, I would like to think that I'm a doer, and I'm just saying to you that whatever that trait might be, it's what you are. Brother Antonio?
Well, before we go there, I will know the next time as soon as we get off this live. I will know and probably have it tatted on my hand.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
All right. Lynn?
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's again, it everything's boils down to our culture and who we are. You would ask what other ethnic groups have that we don't have that cause a little stick-to-itiveness, that, as they say, that gives them the glue on who they are to make their people or children understand their role, as far as the community is concerned, their role as a child, as a husband, as a father, and things of that nature. That's that's rites of passage. That's rites of passage in growing up, and that's our culture, and that's what we're missing. That's why I preach the culture all the time. It's very important. We cannot go by the narrative, at least the image narrative that they have shown us, that or make us think that we were just in the village just doing nothing for all those many years and waiting for our European brothers to come down and civilize us, and doing some things. And that's not true at all. I was listening to a video today about, folks talking about our presence here in the Americas before, the slavery time. We did things, and our people and our children needs to know that. But again, rites of passage is very important. You have those other groups, Hispanic groups, that they do these rites of passages and do certain rituals and stuff to keep the family and to keep the kids engaged and prideful on what they are and who they are and what they are about. That's important. That's very important. What's the purpose of a man? What's the purpose of a woman, child, and what's your role in society? And then teaching them the importance of ancestors. We've been taught to shy at someone talking about giving ancestors what they do, but we'll say angels every day. The angels watching over me, angels, and talk about people in the past. But that's how the brain damage that has occurred in this false narrative that we've been getting to know about ourselves and about our culture and our history. But we'll say angels all the time, but won't say, when somebody brings up ancestors, and there's the issue. And it's the same doggone thing. You know what I mean? So we've been taught so much to look negatively towards our culture. And I'm here to tell you, that's our salvation. That's what we're going to need in order to take us and propel us into the future. And I believe when our ancestors have talked about, things, and even it's mentioned biblically about us returning back to ourselves, back to your homeland. And when I talk about in Isaiah 19, when it talks about a highway coming out of Egypt and Africa, where information, this is where we at. And this is where that transition is. And so something that Dr. Linda Jeffries used to always say, even with the culture that we have here in this country, he said, Africanize it. Whatever you're doing, Africanize it. If you're going to go to church here in the States here, well, Africanize it. So your culture, so your people could see and start building that relationship. Dr. Amos Wilson went on and said, why is it that African names sound strange to you? Why is it strange? you know. And I say that to people who say that slavery was way back then and have nothing to do with us now. You know, okay, well, the question is that if you're not still suffering from slavery, then you know what was the gods that you were worshiping when you was over there in Africa? These not is this who you were? What names were you using? You know what I mean? So we still suffering from that mental illness. So it's very important. It's very important that we really reattach ourselves to the culture, because it's in your DNA. But you're having an internal conflict about this reactionary culture that you're getting here based on how you've been treated by the system and what our ancestors have for you. And I'm here to tell you, if you want things to level off in your life, if you want things to run a little smoothly for you, you know, listen to and call upon your ancestors and get back into the system that our ancestors have figured out long time ago and laid out the foundational rules on how you should survive, how you should get along with nature, how you should get along with each other, communities, and people who may be different from you. Our ancestors laid that all out. Just go and study to show you how advanced they are. Go look up some African proverbs. If these people was walking around and Google like they want to show you that they living in huts and uncivilized, go find you some African proverbs and read that and listen to the deepness of thought and consciousness that those proverbs have, that you can live on and direct your life, man. It's deep. So they was on some sophisticated stuff that we, you know, really has been taken away from us, and we need to go back to.
Well, I think that we are not really aware of the greatness of our ancestors
Yeah,
in
for
terms
sure.
of things that they
Mhm.
did. I mean, if you just look at construction, just look at the construction of certain buildings. What we know is what we have been told, but what we've been told may not necessarily be true. They still can't figure out how they built those pyramids.
Mm.
But we're
Mhm.
getting these narratives of people who existed on Earth who were much taller than we are, who were different types of beings than we are. You look at some of those structures that are built in places like Europe, some of those things that have Moorish influences on them. And people in this day and time still cannot figure out how they did that, because they didn't have the equipment that they have now to build buildings. It seems as though they had greater equipment there. They had other technologies or other methodologies that they could use to create things, but we don't know and we can't explain. All we know is what Europeans have told us, because we get our information through those European sources. And in many cases, they have altered that information to put themselves in a higher place than us. You know, just like they created this narrative of black and white to divide people. So they wanted to divide us from them so that white people would look down on us and think that somehow they were superior to us. So then now we've been given this false narrative. But
But here's the thing. Just a quick thing, footnote right here. If we talked about those advanced civilizations and how they built things that we're just now trying to understand how they did it, and we don't know. But so why would we think that in regards to that, like I just said, the proverbs, the pyramids, we finding out how the pyramids was in line cosmically, you know, with the stars and things like that. So how we would give them the accolades of being high tech in that regard. Well, how come when it comes to spirituality, we're gonna think of them as low tech? You know what I'm saying? You see them on the Discovery Channel talk about this stuff, but they never talk about what you talked about, Pam, those laws of Maya. You know what I'm saying? Those 42 negative confessions and how they thought, you know, of themselves and God and things like that. You know, we don't make that transition of understanding that. You know, we look at them and they show us all this stuff on TV, but when it comes to spirituality, they walking around Google, and this, that, and other. It don't make sense. You high tech in this level, but on this level, you're low tech. You know, you didn't know nothing about God. You didn't think God, all these many facets, and you didn't understand it. It just don't make logical sense. That's all I'm saying.
well, I'll just add a footnote to that. I think the real issue is that we have been separated from our consciousness of what and who God is.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't look at ourselves in a certain light and embrace our ability to manifest things, to create things. But then you have folks like Pamela, who created an organization called Golden Ciphers. And then you look at the impact of the activities, and they came through the creator, but she did the work.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing mystical or magical about it. It was a person with intention moving in their purpose, affecting the lives of other people. And so when you think in a general sense of what that entity is that we call God, the fact is there are lots of us beings who are extensions of that entity that get the work done. It just doesn't happen by happenstance. And then I'm really moved by the story that you told us, Pamela, about your grandmother who died giving birth. And the fact
my mother was pregnant with me when my grandmother made her transition.
Yes. So what I'm saying is those attributes or those things that were a part of what your grandmother was, what she represented, have surfaced in your life.
Absolutely.
And this is a way that we have that connection to the ancestors that they want to take away from us. When you
they want you to look outside yourself. They want you to look outside of yourself. If you look outside of yourself, then you placing your all your values and stuff on somebody else outside of yourself. And with that, you come subservient to whatever entity or principle society that is governing at that particular time. And that's I'm plugging that is because that's what I'm going to talk about on February 1st. The God in you. That's what I'm talking about. Who we are, what we are, and what have we become based on living in this society.
Yes, you wanted to add, Pam?
Yes, a couple of things. I wanted to say that going back to the ancestors, there's an African proverb that says a person is not dead until there's no one left to call their name. And that's why it's important to pour libation and to keep people's names, our ancestors' names alive, and call on them, like you're saying. They will speak to us, but you have to. It's not going to be like we're talking now, and you have to be focused within yourself and in alignment with yourself and the Most High to be able to. It could be a bird. It could be my husband. I'm a widow. My husband talked to me through some keys, and I know that Shango is metal, but by his truck in my driveway when I know that was him. How did those keys just all of a sudden come? Nobody wasn't in that truck. It's an old truck. So it's different ways you have to pay attention. When you learn, when you just being still, you don't have to read a book. You'll knowing, you will know. You say, there goes my grandma, or something will make you think of someone. That person is trying to contact you. So it's not real deep. That's one thing. And then you don't have to have a ceremony. I tell people, don't even throw away your water. We have people waste water. You could pour libation while you're walking down the street and call out people's names. I want to share that. It was something else. I want to say Golden Ciphers. The name Golden Ciphers, I named it Golden Ciphers because gold, to come forth as pure gold, has to be put in fire. And so to put yourself in fire and burn off the dross of yourself so that you could come forth. And cipher is a circle of energy. So that's why it's named Golden Cipher. So that we can continue to work on ourselves, burn off what we don't need, shine like we're supposed to, and be a cipher of energy collectively as a community. And I just wanted to share, if I may, a couple of books. This is Bringing Light into a New Day, African-Centered Rites of Passage by Lathardius Goggins. And I can let's see. And I can send you the name so you can put it. And he has another book, 360 Degrees Black Nuggets to Wisdom. And that's someone that we work with a lot and supports in Paul Hills. He has Black Child Development Foundations and Practices, Rites of Passage Foundations and Practices. So there's a lot of information out there if people are interested, and those books are easily, purchased. If I can let you know where to get them, or put the information in give it to you to put in the chat. But I just want to share those things because it's that's all. I just want to share those things for the
Okay. If you've just tuned in, you're listening to 360 Info Network right here on AM 1490 WERE. I'm Vince Robinson along with Hamtonio, and our guest is Pamela Hubbard. I don't know why I wanted to call her Pam Corbin. I guess I was having a senior moment at the top of the show. But Pam is the executive director of Golden Ciphers Youth Development and Cultural Arts Center. And they're not just working with youth, they're also working with adults in our community. They have several activities during the week. One of them you mentioned was EEP, the Employment and Entrepreneur Program. And I heard you say earlier that you have some folks that have started clothing lines and so forth and so on. I think it's really important for folks to be involved in those kinds of activities. You also mentioned that there's a CAD design that they could take for free through Tri-C's. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's just important for us to know that there are things that we can do other than going to college to be successful in life. And there are also things that we can do that we don't have to pay for that would give us some skill sets that are marketable skill sets and we can use to become entrepreneurs. I think one of the issues that we have in bringing up our children is we teach them this whole idea of go to school, get a degree, get a job, and participate in society that way. And many times it's just a prescription to a life of debt because you can't get ahead when you're trading your time for money and they're not paying you very much for your time. We get in that trap. But on the other hand, you could be an entrepreneur and you could get rewarded for your time without the constraint of someone saying that you're limited to how much you can get per hour. It's in us to be entrepreneurs. You go to Africa and you see entrepreneurs all over the place because that's the way they take care of themselves. And I think that's a lesson that we could learn over here because right now, jobs are disappearing. I saw on social media this morning that they're closing Walgreens stores and they're closing the last Sears stores that exist. And there's GameStop and a whole bunch of other businesses. They're going to eliminate 200,000 jobs through all of these different closures. But on the other hand, those of us who know that you can get ahead by going into business and getting the benefits from being in business, the tax advantages and all the other things, the business credit that you can leverage to acquire capital to make more money. If we were doing things other than what they're telling us we're supposed to do, we would be much further ahead. So I'm really happy to hear about this entrepreneur program that you have. Let's see, you have the computer assisted drawing, and then the idea of bringing young men together. That's really important right now. You know, we always talk about the plight of the sisters, and I don't discount the dysfunction and things that are affecting sisters. But young brothers, they really have it tough too, because it seems like in many ways we've given up on them. You know, so this outreach to young people and you're working with folks through the Juvenile Detention Center. We talked to Wall Street West last week, and he talked to us about what he's doing over there. And I know that you and he are connected, and he definitely brought you up in the conversation that we had. Can you talk a little bit about this outreach to young folks who have been affected by the prison system? And just a side note, we had a conversation with you about your offspring and some of them who have gone through incarceration. So I know this is near and dear to your heart. So could you talk about the importance of reaching out to young folks who have gone through the penal system?
It's very important. And I would also say not just the young folks, everybody, because we have adults, we have homelessness, we have addictions, we have so many things and so many reasons people are incarcerated and so many things that people are struggling with now. So for everybody, it's important. I love working in the detention center before any, I've been through a lot personally with the juvenile detention center as well as the adult centers. I do have a son incarcerated right now at Grafton Correctional Institution. However, he is an author. He is, and I can share this publicly because there's a podcast out with him on it too, and he shares his story, and he's interviewed by someone as well. But there was 3 people on this case. His best friend is out. Real, he has a business called Comma Club. My daughter just came home from Marysville. She's a licensed barber, and she's been working for promotion since she's been home. So my son is the last one on this particular case to come home. He's been incarcerated 21 years. He's a published author. The name of his poetry book, he's a poet. The name of his book is A Piece of Me. And you could get it on Amazon. It's online. If you look online on YouTube under My Truth, you could hear him reciting it. And we also sell the hard copies at Golden Ciphers. So I have a vested interest in the not just juvenile, but in the system, at the criminal system, period. I've done some things at Mansfield with Dennis Baker, used to be the deputy warden. He's the executive director of Mansfield Correctional Institution. I used to work for Cleveland Humadop, which I'm still connected with them. Sadie Richardson does work with reentry. So I work with that population because it makes sense to work with that population. Being a mother of sons, grandchildren, and just being a member of the community. And that's who, again, going back to my grandmother, Angel. Her name was Angel. My other grandmother's name was Sugar. So their names were appropriate without having a day name. It was just their name. But yeah, the other thing that I wanted to share, as you were talking about ancestors, and I lost my thought, is there's a group called Sweet Honey in the Rock. And they have, and it's on YouTube. Anybody can look it up, Sweet Honey in the Rock. And the song is called Breaths. And in that song, it says, listen more often to things than to being. It's the ancestors' breath. And it talks about the ancestors. So I just want to share that as you were talking about Hamptonia ancestors. People might want to listen to that, and that could add to the definition that we're talking about now and help people see it a lot clearer too.
Yeah. As you mentioned, Sweet Honey in the Rock, I'm reminded that Paul Hill's daughter-in-law, Navasha. Yeah, she sings with Sweet Honey in the Rock, and I think they may have had a recent performance because I know he put it out there. But I also want to amplify the fact that our beloved Hugh People Vocal Ensemble sing that song from time to time, and I think they sang it in light of the Kinara. It was a Kwanzaa program that they had at Cleveland Public Theater. It was a beautiful rendition. I actually used that song in a video that I have up on YouTube that I wrote back during the George Floyd homicide, and it was about it. I used that song, but it was the Sweet Honey in the Rock version. And at the end of the song, at the end of my rap, then I play that song. And the name of my poem that I did to it is called Message to a Murderer. I Can Breathe. I Can Breathe. So I invite folks to visit my YouTube channel, and I'll just put in a plug for myself and Brother Hamptonio. We do these broadcasts live to AM 1490 WERE on Saturdays, but we also simulcast to Facebook and YouTube, so you can actually watch our show if you are at home and you're not driving, because you don't want to be watching your phone and watching the road at the same time. It's not a good thing. But you can check us out on YouTube. My channel is Vince Robinson. Lynn's channel is The Journey with Hamptonio. You can see our programs on those respective channels. And I would also encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We have just a few more moments before we close the broadcast. Pam, I want you to go ahead and give us the website. I'll put that up on the screen for those who are watching online. And also, if you want to give your phone number and your email, you can include that information. I'll capture that information and I'll put it in the description for this video.
Absolutely. Our website is Golden Ciphers, GOLDENCIPHERS. A lot of people spell it with a Y. The number one.com. We are on all the other social medias. You could just Google Golden Ciphers for Facebook and Instagram. My number is 216-513-7870. And my email is phubbard, Hubbard, 5704 @gmail.com.
Okay. So again, we'll post that information on the description for the video in case you weren't able to write it down quickly, and you'll have another source. You can also go to our 360 Info Network Facebook page, where you can see a copy of this broadcast, and you'll be able to also get the other information that we've given to you. So what's new for Golden Ciphers? What do you have coming up that you want to let folks know about?
Well, we're amping up our family night. So they're revolutionary movements, and we want the community to come. We want it to be a dialogue. We want it to be to plan. Our it's called EET program. T with like time, like not P for program. And right. Kuji Chagalia is the second principle in Nguzo Saba. I define for myself, I know that. And we have to create our own visions, as you were talking about throughout this conversation. We have to create what we want to see. And we stopped using the word programs because, and even in our grants, we write trainings and put programs in parentheses so people can understand what it is, because we're programmed to death. And our programming has allowed us a lot of times not to be the free thinkers and not to be able to tap into our own mind. Curtis Mayfield, my brother, used to be a singer when he was alive, when he was younger and alive and living. But he used to sing, they used to sing Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions. But he would always say, check out your mind. See what you would find. That was one of their songs. So that's, just leave with that. And thank you for inviting me, and I hope it's been fun for me and informational for me. I learned a lot, so I hope I was able to impart something that somebody could use out there in the world.
Okay, well, Pam, we definitely have to have you back and give us a progress report on the lifestyle that you're developing. We're not going to call it a program. Yes. We're going to call it a lifestyle, and we definitely want to be able to define those terms for folks, so that they know that they need to change their wording, because words are power, language is power. Brother Hamtonio, you want to give us the details on the event that you have coming up?
Yes, it's going to be the first day of February. Wayne Chandler is the main speaker. The topic again is African presence in early India and China. It's going to blow your mind, and give you evidence that how we populated the planet and civilized the planet. A lot of things we give credit to China, that Africa was there. Africans was there as well. The first civilizations in China were African, and you're going to see that. So tickets are $20. Give me a holler, 216-323-6155, 216-323-6155. I'll be opening it up for Brother Wayne. It's going to be at Wings Academy, 2450 Prospect. That's the first doors open up at 3 and lecture approximately 3:30. Little African drumming and little food as well. So come on down. We're going to open up that month, something solid. Okay.
All right. So with that, we'd like to thank you, Pam, for showing up for us today. And again, we will have you back, and I will look at having you on another station so we can continue this conversation. I also want to give a big shout out to our engineer, Tone Harley, the man in control at the studio, at the station, at the board, making everything happen for us. We really appreciate him, and we appreciate you for listening and watching. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.
Peace.